Hi, and welcome back to the best thing we watched this week. We have an extra helping today with an extra guest member with Austin Burke. Yeah. Hey, Austin.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here, guys. As soon as you extended that invite, I'm like, I'm in. Let's do it. I'm in. I appreciate you guys so much for bringing me on.
Thanks for joining us. Chris, obviously, from Movies and Munchies. Ruben from the Ruby Tuesday. We're hopefully going to keep you entertained. I have some very interesting things to talk about this week, as does Chris, and I'm sure Austin does. But as Austin's first, I say first, you're going to be first because you're the guest. So why did you kick us off? Sorry, I'm just dropping you off in the deep end there. You're like, hey, there you go.
No, well, you guys can find me if you don't know where to find me. I'm Austin Burke on YouTube, Letterboxd, Instagram, Twitter, at the Burkeinator, all of those things. But I've been watching all kinds of stuff this week. The Toronto International Film Festival digitally has kicked off, so watched a couple of movies there. Obviously not the big ones like your Dunes and Sohos. I'll get to those eventually. But also been watching a lot of streaming movies this week, and I know we'll probably talk about Malignant, but seeing the back and forth over on the Twitters and Instagrams, it's interesting. I like the divisiveness. It's definitely one of those movies for sure.
Do you have anything that you would like to talk about first on your list? Or we normally try and do, I think, 3 each if we can, and then anything else that was really interesting to us.
Well, for me, I guess I could hit on some of the film festival movies. Petite Maman is the brand new Celine Sciamma film, the director of Portrait of a Lady on Fire. A lot of hype surrounding this movie. It's one of those that could be an Oscar player. I liked it. I thought it was a little slow. It's a very short movie, only an hour and around 10 minutes, to be honest. Maybe the shortest movie I've watched all year. But it's a beautiful portrait. It almost reminds me of The Florida Project, a very a natural story of young friendship, but also a relationship between a mother and a daughter. So I thought that was very beautiful. And then a couple of other streaming movies, one by the name of Prey, which I watched yesterday and caught your all's reviews on. Chris, I was watching your review of it, and it's one that I was really looking forward to because I love getting exposure to these foreign films on Netflix, right? But for me, this was a story that I just could not get invested in, whether it be characters that were very hard to relate to or just a story that progressed in a very uninteresting way. So I was a little upset with that one, and we'll talk about Malignant, I'm sure. But the other one that I just watched is The Voyeur. I believe that's what it's called, the Voyeur. Just watched that late last night. Let me tell you guys, this movie, do not watch, and Chris, I watched your review, do not watch this movie with your family. It was definitely a very mature film. I liked some of the themes that it explored. I thought the acting was through the roof. I wasn't all there on the little twists in the third act, couple of twists in there. So I thought maybe that would be one of the highlights of the weekend. I still thought it was fine, but definitely that third act is kind of what threw me for a loop on that. So just a couple of streaming movies, and eventually Petite Maman is going to be a streaming movie. So that's what I've been watching this weekend.
Awesome.
I have a question. Okay, so we'll let's tackle Voyeurs. So, it was funny because Ruben saw it first. I was still watching something else, and he messaged me and he was like, just as a word of warning, don't watch this with your adult children because this will be weird and awkward. I'm like, oh, okay, good to know. But how did you feel, either of you, how did you feel about the ending? Like, I felt that there was spoiler alert here, just the movie has kind of what feels like an ending, and then it continues on to give us exposition and just more explanation at the end to kind of wrap everything up. What were your feelings on both of those types of things? If that makes sense.
I think I'm with you, and just kind of highlighting the initial wrap up, and then the fact that you get a turn that maybe you don't expect, and then another turn, right? It kind of does this double. It punched me right in the face, and then it punched me again. And it wasn't that, the unexpected nature of it is what threw me for a loop. It's more so, I think I'm with you in the fact that I liked the darkness of the way that it went out the first time. And everything else beyond that just kind of felt convenient or played in a way that almost shifted genres, right? Because you're watching this and it has this very distinct feel to it. And then at the end, everything goes so out there. I don't know if it was as believable as they wanted it to be. And it almost feels a bit too cheesy that when you get that close up on the rooftop at the end, you zoom into the binoculars. I'm like, oh, I don't know if that quite worked. I like the fact that they're trying to do a little twist there, but I don't know if it quite worked. So I'm with you. I kind of wish it would have ended right when we get that very dramatic moment close to that third act.
Yeah. Boobies. There were a lot of boobies. Sorry, I'm still stuck there, guys.
This is true.
Oh my gosh. Wife next to me, son playing his game on the computer on that side. I'm like, turn the volume down. Okay. Doing that. Like, yeah, I think I liked it until I felt like it lost its message. So voyeurism obviously plays a big part in it, and it's trying to teach us something, trying to teach the viewer that you are actually the voyeur there. And we're like, yeah, okay, I get it. She's been obsessed with this couple doing stuff, and the repercussions of that, we see that. But then it flips it, and like you said, you get to that end, and then it flips it, and then they're like, but now there's a new lesson to learn. I'm just like, yeah, you've kind of taken away everything that I was appreciating it. We had that dark mark, and you would have left me feeling upset anyway, and I left feeling upset anyway, because I was just like, what is this movie? What did I just watch? But yeah, and then so I probably would have stuck with like a nice B+, because I thought, yeah, this is strong. I liked it artistically. I thought the cinematography, my word, it looked stunning in some places.
Gorgeous.
Reminded me, even though Rear Windows, black and white, definitely had that vibe, a bit of Hitchcockian kind of those corridor shots that they had. I thought was fantastic, but it just lost me sometimes in the message. So I don't know if there was a balancing act there that was really hard to do, but once you get outside of that, okay, now we're going to teach you something else as the viewer, as the voyeur, at some point I think it gets preachy. You're like, I get it. Do we want to go back to the boobs? No. I'm all right with that.
Yeah, I would say if you're just looking for some cheap thrills, I mean, this is like late night cable almost at some points. But,
oh yes, yes.
Oh, funny. All right. Well, Ruben, what's the best thing you watched?
The best thing I watched is probably the best film I've seen ever. And this is going to be in your top 10 film, guys, for sure. Maybe number one. In the grand light that was Larmageddon, we have a film called The Sand. Has anybody heard about this film? It came out in 2015 called The Sand. No? All right. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's a thing of beauty. Seriously, just a work of art, guys. Let me read the synopsis for you. I'm setting the mood. After an all-night graduation beach party, a group of hungover 20-somethings awake to a beating sun and a seemingly carnivorous beach that devours anything with a heartbeat that touches the sand. There is your story. You have to watch this movie. Seriously, it's the worst. It's so good.
The premise sounds like Rubber or even Mandibles, where you have some sort of ridiculous's. Does it work though? I mean, are you being like, okay, so it's a terrible movie? Yes, I'm assuming.
Yeah. No, it's bad.
Is it?
It's the floor is lava. It eats you. Okay, so that's your premise.
Cool, that's fun.
You have a set, I guess, diameter, perimeter of where this thing is under the sand, and there's a sort of explanation as to what it is, but for some reason nobody's coming around to this beach area, so we're just like, the believability is just way out there, guys. There's no mobile phones because of a MacGuffin that has happened, and so now everybody's like either in a car or this little beach hut or in a tube can, and they can't touch the sand. And so what we get then is people sorting out their bad relationships with who slept with who in the worst time possible, with the worst dialogue ever, with the worst delivery and acting you've seen ever, with the longest shots of people like staring off into a distance. But the thing that's happening is like the opposite direction. So whatever they were told to look at, obviously the CGI was happening on that side of the room, because man, it's gold. It's absolute gold. You just watch it, put it on your list.
Wow. And it's funny, a couple tropes that you just mentioned, like, not having the cell phone service and people bringing up things at the worst time possible. It's some of the criticisms I had with Prey yesterday, right? It's these guys are like, you're getting shot at, but you're also trying to sort through this business. You know what I mean?
Like,
just
you're going to do that now?
Time, and how often do we see that trope in these kinds of movies? So I think that's a prime example. It sounds horrible.
Yeah, it's so good.
So
I mean, if you like drinking games, this is it, man. Every time they do something stupid, you're just going to be wrecked at the end of the film. It's great. Loved it so much.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, The Sand, that's what it's called?
The Sand. In the UK, it's on Amazon Prime, so
Okay.
I'm sure you might find it. It's got a cult following because, like, in the same vein of The Room, Larmageddon, that kind of film.
Oh my gosh, Ruben, you're just adding to my collection of wonderful things to watch.
Wow.
Hey man, if I don't get to the press screenings, I'm gonna get you the gold. So
I appreciate
Get the good stuff here.
instead of Dune,
good stuff.
we're gonna watch The Sand.
Oh my god.
No, we're definitely watching Dune. Yeah.
Yes.
It's fantastic.
Should I watch one before the other, you think? Or are they like sequels? Or
Yeah, an unofficial prequel.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Sand has to be the prequel
Absolutely,
to this,
yeah,
right?
for sure.
Ooh, is the big worm? The big sandworm? Is that it?
There's something.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'll take it.
Oh, I'm looking it up now just because I have to have a record of this so that I can.
We must know.
Yes. The poster is outstanding. Okay, wonderful. Well, that's I'm
Hooked.
all there.
You're all in.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm going to watch that with my boys. My wife will roll her eyes and leave the room and just leave us to our ridiculous humor. But
It's so wrong. It's good. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, at top of my list, which I am late to the game, and actually this whole all of my best things, I think I haven't done reviews for, and I probably won't do reviews for a while. But Ted Lasso, I just discovered this. I've seen, people hyped about it and everything, and I'm not a sports guy. I love watching World Cup when World Cup is happening, but that's it. I'm not, and I don't follow it. I don't follow the teams, and I'm not really a big Jason Sudeikis fan either. So none of this show was like really appealing to me. Last Saturday and Sunday, my wife and I binged 17 episodes back to back because I couldn't be torn away from it. I mean, I was like, we watched season 2, episode 8 last night, and because I was haunted by it all week, I'm like, I need to watch more. This is a show that I've just been absolutely sucked into by his positivity, just the whole tone of the show, for the most part, is uber positive and quirky, and it makes me laugh out loud so many different times that it's so just an unexpected, beautiful thing that really now I think everybody should watch. Like, this is a reason, if you don't have Apple TV Plus, to get it and watch this show, because so wonderful.
What makes it good? So for those that haven't seen it, why is it good?
So Ted is an American football coach who's brought over to London to coach a flailing soccer, or for those of us not in the United States, football team. And he knows nothing about the sport. He brings a coach over, and he has this different view of the world. I mean, he's not your typical sports coach. So he is very positive. He's about building the players up, seeing just the absolute potential in everybody. And it is a very feel-good show. Now, second season has taken a slightly more dramatic turn. I think some of the storylines are a little darker. One character in particular, Nathan, I'm not absolutely thrilled with his trajectory at the moment because I've seen where he was. It makes sense where it's going, but I don't want it to be that way, if that makes sense, which is good because now I'm conflicted. You know what I mean? I'm even more invested in the story. And there's a little bit of romance in there. There's a ton of comedy. I mean, there's camaraderie. There's lessons to be learned, character growth. This is just a really well done package that absolutely surprised me. I mean, when I watched the first episode, I thought, oh, okay, this might be cute. And then I'm like, I can't stop watching. I don't know. Austin, you've seen it, right? I mean, have you seen the whole both seasons?
Oh, yeah. I have. I'm caught up to where they are as well. And I may actually have the other two episodes. I've not checked the way that Apple does that, but let me tell you, I am just overwhelmingly thrilled with the way that this show just took me by surprise. Everyone I have recommended it to will always text me back or get back with me and say, Austin, this show is fantastic. And even if you're not a fan of the sport or sports in general, right, you can find something to love. And every character has a purpose, has a role, and every character up until this point has been fleshed out in an interesting way. Now, I'm with you, Chris. Season 2, there's something about it that maybe isn't as magical as season 1, but I'm still thoroughly invested and loving the story. I love, and I won't spoil anything, Led Tasso. I love because when you see Ted, you know exactly how he is after season 1. When you see him start to find these different aspects of his personality that we haven't seen yet, I think that's the most interesting because it's almost like just your really fun family member, like the best fun uncle ever that comes to a reunion. He's like telling dad jokes and doing all of these things. And every time I watch him, I'm just like, I want this guy to be in my family, right? So when you start unlocking those other elements of his personality in season 2, it gets just as entertaining, just as engrossing. So I think Ted Lasso is excellent. And it's still one of, if not my favorite seasons of television this year. We'll see how it plays out, but shows on television in general, I just love it. I love it.
Have you seen it, Ruben?
No, it's not been massively advertised here in the UK, but I have seen the excitement from yourself and Austin. I remember him talking about it, just I think a tweet as well. It's like, that looks really good. Yes. If you need a reason to get Apple TV, I guess this sounds like it's right for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
Because it's fairly cheap here. I think it's like $4.99 for a month. So you could try it out for 1 month and then go, oh, okay, I'm in love with this. So I'm definitely going to put that on my your great recommendations. Put that on my list.
Mm-hmm.
Should we? Sorry, I cut you off. No. I was going to say, should we talk about the horror, the Malignant?
Malignant.
Malignant?
Malignant. It really depends on how you put the emphasis on which syllable, but
Malignant. Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't. I had to do it. It's been stuck in my head all week, so I had to finally get it out.
I didn't even realize what you did there.
What?
I didn't realize you said emphasis. You know, I was just like, oh yeah, oh wait, what did he just say? You know what I mean?
It's a great dad joke. Chris is here all week, guys.
I love it.
And if I've offended you, please don't unsubscribe. Don't take it personally, and don't take it out on Austin and Ruben for my idiocy.
Chris, I have a question for you. Do you have to be a dad to tell dad jokes? My wife has been getting on to me a lot lately because, you know, she'll watch my intros, my really cringeworthy intros in my video. But now I'm starting to do it in real life. I tell dad jokes constantly. So she's like, what's going on with you lately? I just love it, man. I love it. I love getting the reactions from people when you tell a good dad joke.
I don't think you have to be a dad. I think you just have to own it. You just have to be confident in that delivery, knowing that what you're going to give is absolute cheese, and you just go for it.
Yes. As long as you know it's cheesy, it works. That's what I love about it. So I can get on board with that.
Right on. Oh, okay. So Malignant. Sorry, took us off on a wild tangent.
Yeah, Malignant. Let's talk about Malignant.
Oh, okay. Who wants to go first?
I want to talk about it because I don't do horrors. If you've been following Chris and I's our weekly thing, is I get scared very easily. And coming from the background of a Christian family, the supernatural thing has always been a no-go. And as I've gotten older, in my wise old years, or my stupid old years, however you want to classify them, as I've delved out a little bit from the family camp, and here I am watching some Scream films and the Halloweens over there, and I'm like, ooh, this is actually quite some fun, guys. And I watched Brightburn the other day, and I was like, that was weird. And so now I tried a big boy horror, and I didn't think this was scary at all. I was just like, it's gory, and it came across more like an action film. Am I wrong? Did I watch a horror? What do you guys think?
I think it's not scary, and that's why I think James Wan's so brilliant. And I know, again, it's not a movie that everybody's loving, but it subverted my expectations, as in it did kind of focus on more of the action side of things. There's also sci-fi. It's a slasher. That's what it is. It's a slasher at its core, whereas I thought it would be supernatural, and in a way, I guess it's supernatural. Not really, but when you see that body terror in the third act, I'm like, that's not normal. That's what I thought. But then I see it as just this grand slasher film. So in that way, I see the movie as kind of terrifying, but it does not do jump scare. But I don't really get scared during horror films. And I don't say that to be uppity, like, oh, things don't scare me. I just don't get scared, right? So you've got to do a lot to kind of shock me to my core, and that's more of what this movie did. It tried to do some jump scares, didn't necessarily deliver, but it was more shocking, which is why it was kind of terrifying to me.
Chris?
Yeah, I wasn't scared either. At first, I was caught off guard by the way that the film opened, because you have this it's schlocky, really. You know what I mean? Like you have the guard have their arm stuck in the door, and they scream, ah! You know, and I'm just like, what? Okay, if this is the tone that we're going with, then I'm going to get behind this. I just need to know, because it's not the tone that I got from the trailer. You know, so when I see this, it's a little different. I'm like, oh, okay. And so I enjoyed the gore. I enjoyed that violence that happened, because it was just a lot, you know, and it was it was a lot. It was, but I liked some of the chase scenes too. I think that, you know, it added some excitement to it. I think, can I do spoilers? So we stay away from spoilers? What do you guys think?
I mean, we can put title cards and put spoiler in this bit.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So big spoiler warning here. When it's revealed who Gabriel is and where Gabriel is, two thoughts had already been going through my mind, which was, one was that horror movie Basket Case from early 90s, late 80s, something like that, where it's kind of like this conjoined twin type of thing that would escape and run out. And then the other was the X-Files episode that takes place at the carnival.
That's where my brain went,
You know, where same concept, that it's a conjoined twin-ish type of thing that escapes, it eats things, or, you know, attacks people and kills. And, you know, and the person who is with them kind of is aware that it's going on. So that part of it didn't really shock me. I was impressed, though, when they're running through, when the cop is chasing Gabriel through downtown Seattle, and they go into the underground, you know, under the city, where as Gabriel was jumping down from the fire escapes, I was like, is that running backwards? Like it looked, you know what I mean? Like pieces of the body were moving wrong in a way, that was weird. And I'm like, what is that? And so the more that we would see it, I was like, is it running? No, maybe not. Well, maybe. And so then when we get the reveal later on, and the, you know, with the arms, I was like, oh my gosh, it was. That's really cool. It became, I mean, it was just, I think I had more fun with it because it, like Austin, like you said, it subverted some of my expectations that I was just like, I thought it was this, and now we've turned into this, and you've given me some absolute insane violence and some crazy action. And then combining that with Maddie being in the jail and kind of, you know what I mean? Yeah. She's seeing one thing and experiencing one thing when in reality it's going on inside the police station, you know, just that juxtaposition, that's a hard word, back and forth. And I thought a lot of fun. I mean, I do see why some people may not have enjoyed it as much, because maybe, you know, the expectation for what it was, especially after seeing some of the trailers, may have, this is what I thought it was going to be. And it's a hard thing to shift, you know, once you get into it and it's like, oh, that's not really what I wanted. Or you go in thinking Conjuring, Insidious, any of these types of things that are more of that supernatural, disturbing, and this is disturbing in one way, but it's different. So, yeah.
Maybe that's why, because I went in thinking James Wan, you know, I've seen the trailers for all of those films. I know The Conjuring is going to scare the poop out of me. So was my expectations. But I still really enjoyed it. Once I knew it was a monster movie and it was physical action, that action sequence in the police station was phenomenal. But my wife coined the term, it's a monster ninja movie. It's a ninja movie, which cracked me up for ages. But yeah, because that was doing incredible flick flacks and moves with, you know, slice and dicing like an assassin would. And the way that was filmed, one of my particular favorite scenes, the outside on dropping down the staircases, the fire staircases, and it's doing the weird, like just spinning around and then dropping and then flipping around and then dropping. And the poor detective's like, great, how am I going to follow that? Austin, what was your kind of favorite moments, since we're doing spoilers?
I love how you talk about the camera work. It's just James Wan is always so creative, even if it doesn't fully land like in Aquaman. I think there's some weird shots, but for the most part, his camera work is outstanding. Now, I was so surprised and shocked that it went in the direction that it did. I made a Sam Raimi comparison in my review. It felt like your very different movie, obviously, but it felt like Evil Dead, whereas it has that tone that if you're not on board for, you're not going to like the movie. I mean, we see the I believe it's a C cinema score, and those are often the kinds of films, the ones that completely subvert expectations, good or bad, that have a divisive response. And I definitely think this movie warrants that, right? If you told me you didn't like how campy, and I'll be honest, normally I'm not completely on board with the campy horror films, right? But because it's James Wan, because he knows how to handle his characters, and I won't even sit back and say all of the performances were great. There are a couple side performances that I'm like, don't know if I believe that or this. But when you're dealing with a tone so specific and you're making it this full-on slasher movie with, you know, could have a cult following, whatnot, but I believe this character of Gabriel could stick around for a while. I mean, this is a great character, even though now he's locked in the prison cell at the end, which, you know, how's he going to escape? And she says, you'll come back for me eventually, and I absolutely think he will, especially if the movie performs well. But I just thought the third act, when he comes out and you see, it reminded me of in The Thing or the original Alien, where you get the practical effects, right? Just the arms, you know, creature and everybody trying to restrain her, the screams coming from her, and then watching this tape of how this all happened was just, you could tell it was tormenting for the characters, but oh my gosh, yeah. And you mentioned, Chris, and I love the pull too, where you can start to see, is Gabriel running? I mean, did he sprain his ankle? What's wrong with him? You know, is he running? Does he need some assistance? But then you're like, well, it looks like we have this little subtle cue of what we're going to get a bit later, and then just the idea of her having to have this Professor X mind battle internally. Do not come out anymore. This is it. Now, it doesn't take away from the fact that she did a lot of terrible things and should probably face repercussions for all of those things, but it wasn't her. We now know that it was Gabriel. So I thought that was really, really cool. And then, reliving those moments with those flashbacks at the end, seeing how those people actually died. It was her the whole time. And I think, and Ruben, you mentioned this, it's, we go in expecting James Wan to do one thing. We've always heard, even if, Ruben, if you haven't seen his movies, this movie, like The Conjuring, is the scariest movie, and it is terrifying. This is almost a complete 180 from The Conjuring. You go from very serious, very supernatural, to campy, kind of sci-fi, got some J.J. Abrams moments in there, but really full-on, and I'll say it again, slasher movie. So James Wan's filmography is very well-rounded at this point. He's done action, he's done horror, he's done this type of horror, and I can't wait. I mean, obviously Aquaman 2, but I can't wait to see him do more of this kind of horror. And maybe next time people will be like, which James Wan is it going to be? Is it going to be the scary James Wan or the campy James Wan? So hopefully next time there's a better response to the film.
I think that might be a good thing too for him as a director and as his career arcs, because we think M. Night Shyamalan, like it or hate his movies, he's kind of been pigeonholed by himself because of the things that he chooses to do. True. And so James Wan has, with this breadth of just different genres, different styles, it allows him that freedom to explore different areas and then have fun. And some may work, some may not. Some are going to resonate with audiences in different ways or not at all. But at least he has that freedom that he's established within his career.
Yes, I completely agree with that. Yeah.
Did anybody watch Kate? I presume. I think you both have reviews out for this.
Dude.
Did you? Am I right in saying this is John Wick meets Crank, but with a female lead? Maybe add some anime in there.
With
a little anime.
With less story depth.
Yeah. No story depth. Bad guy is bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, I had fun with the action, especially the violence. I was actually very impressed by some of that. Some of the choreography, I felt they slowed down a little bit to maybe make sure that they could do all of the moves, but it was still impressive. I mean, there was a lot of impressive work that went into that. I didn't feel uber connected to her.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Same. Same.
Like, as I think when I hear John Wick, it's not just the action, it's that I have become endeared to this character almost from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Because he's been built out as such a rich and deep character. Now, we don't know a lot about him, and we get to, small little bits here and there, but he becomes somebody that we really, really root for and that we want to see more of and that we care about. Whereas Kate, she's awesome at fighting and she's deadly, but that's about it, right?
There's not a lot of story depth here. And I think that's the problem that this movie suffers from. And once you start exploring that backstory, sure, it adds a little bit, but even then I didn't have a connection like the movie required me to have to care at the end. And I wasn't a big fan of the character of Annie either, even though it's obvious that she's supposed to be kind of annoying at the beginning. But she makes some decisions that I think compromise that arc about halfway through the movie, where she's heading in one direction, and then there are a couple of decisions made. I'm like, you had some development going, this and that. You can understand why, but she played a big factor in the movie as well. I just loved the action. I love the criticism of maybe some of the action scenes were slowed down because you could tell there was something off about one or two of them, and maybe that's what it was. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I do love Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I think she's great, and I think she's the reason why this movie semi-works, right? Kind of carrying the film on her back, very believable, but her character is what I couldn't get connected to. And even Woody Harrelson, whom I am a massive, massive fan of, it could have been anybody, to be honest with you. It could have been anybody, which is disappointing. So yeah, I was kind of disappointed with this
I mean,
film.
why have Woody Harrelson if you're not going to use him? He
Sure.
can get really
Yeah.
deep. He has meaty roles. We've seen him chew the scenery up sometimes with the greatest A-listers, and to have him just as generic dude is just so sad because you could have done so much with him. I don't know if you guys read the press pack that this came with. They left like a whole bunch of notes, and so I was just perusing through that, and I do feel like maybe the director was slightly out of touch with kind of the base, the audience that they were going for in this, because part of his kind of write-up was the saying that we haven't really gotten a female protagonist in an action role like this before. And I think that might be true maybe 10, 15 years ago. But if you look back 5 years ago, man, going back from Sigourney Weaver in Aliens, that's 79, 76, whenever the first one was out, and all the way now to our Charlize Therons, those lead female badass leads. We've had a cornucopia of those, so it's not like it's new. So that took me back. I was like, okay, cool, but I like it when a director will choose somebody that you're not expecting to be the lead. And I think, obviously, Mary, she's fantastic as the role. But getting her to be unlikable will only carry you so far. And I think once we reach that halfway point where we get our new character, where she becomes the kind of surrogate mother, we're meant to be endearing to that character, right? That's like, okay, so now we have this relationship to root for. But if you have another character that you don't really like either, then you're sitting with two characters that you kind of like, and then you're just watching for the action scenes, and then you get annoyed when it's downtime. And I think that's where it goes wrong, because stylistically I thought it looked great. There's one shot on top of the roof where she does this kind of roll with her sniper rifle, and I was thinking, damn, that must have been really hard to do. It looked very kind of Sin City game-esque. We had an anime shot of Tokyo Ghoul on the this big building just shining, and I was like, yeah, that is so cool. Love that. The neon colors, if they'd managed to stick to the sort of cyberpunk, but then add some feeling in there, I think it would have been like up there with John Wick. So at the end of the day, you're left feeling, okay, meh.
Yeah, forgettable. Like it was okay. When the action was happening, I was like, okay, this I'm good. But then it's over, and I'm like, okay, what's next?
But it's sad because it shouldn't be, because the story's there, the formula works, we've seen it done so many times. All you need is a little bit of heart and give your audience something to root for. Maybe I'm being too harsh on it. Am I being too harsh on it? I don't know.
No, I love what you said there too, Ruben, and you did a good job with your review in general. It's a movie that, is trying to be something new, but at the same time, we've seen that new a couple times this year. So it's not, and I'm not even talking about female protagonists. I just mean the John Wick genre almost, right? We keep getting the same thing. And then you look at the standpoint of, we want female protagonists in movies like this, action kick, Gunpowder Milkshake, The Protege, right? And I haven't seen The Protege, but just this year we've gotten quite a few. So give us that, but also give us a compelling story to go with it. And that's what I think Kate is lacking, is a compelling story. And they do have a little bit of lore, but one thing I think John Wick did so well is establish a world that we can revisit, and we have multiple times, and people are interested in that. So I think start with the lore, the build-up, then get into characters, and then give us nice action. I think it started with the action, and we never really got past that. We were just on that first level, just really cool action scenes and a great lead actress. So yeah, that was my big issue with the movie.
I'm going to move us on. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I shouldn't moan anymore about Kate. No?
Okay.
Oh, poor Kate. Have you guys seen Into the Night, the second season? I think you both watched it. No,
I haven't yet.
I haven't. Okay.
No, I have not.
Well, this will be exciting for you then. So obviously I reviewed it. I'm not going to do spoilers. But Netflix are doing something really clever here. So I don't know if you guys have heard. I'm just going to flick over. There is a series called Bernardsalzi Hikayesi. So yeah, I absolutely decimated that because it's not English. But it's Under the Submarine. An Undersea Story. Okay, and so this has been kept very quiet. It's only really the die-hard fans that have figured this out. So this is a spin-off series from Into the Night, but a different language even, and based in a different country. But it's about a submarine that these people get stuck under. And apparently in season 3, they're going to link up. So if you've seen season 2, you'll know that there's like a big kind of cliffhanger like these series always do, and the world has expanded so much more, and people are like, well, I know what we're gonna do now. But Netflix are doing their like MCU extended universe with the strangest series, like, and they've kept it very quiet. But that's thanks to the fans in the comments below. So Ruben, check this out. You got to check this out. Apparently that's coming out this year, which is bonkers.
That's awesome. I love that Netflix is doing that more and more too. They're expanding, they're spinning off, they're connecting series. That's really cool, Ruben. That's
awesome. I
awesome.
thought it was really fun. Did you guys like the first season? Did you watch the first season?
I did. Yes, I liked it. Did I review it? I don't remember what I ate for breakfast. I really liked it though, so I'm definitely wanting to check out season 2, and hopefully when time frees up, probably won't review it, but I definitely want to check it out. So it's good to hear that they're doing more with this universe, which is cool.
Yeah, so fun.
Yeah, I had fun with the first season, and it was on my plan to watch it this week, the second season, and just the week fell apart. So hey, so maybe this weekend I'll be able to catch up with it. What country or what language is that spin-off, that underwater one from?
I am looking right now.
Okay.
Because IMDb is like my movie Bible. Turkey.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Turkey. Okay.
Oh,
Turkey.
Cool.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed some Turkish series. So okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Me too.
Yeah. It's
right on.
Yeah. So who's got more to talk about, or we're going to talk about the Matrix trailer? Chris got one more.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I don't know how I stumbled upon this.
Oh no, what is this?
This is the greatest, most terrible thing I've seen in quite a while. It is on Amazon Prime, at least in the United States.
Okay.
And I have to pull it up so that I get everything right. It is called Garth Marenghi's Darkplace. Now let me read you the synopsis. This parody series is an unearthed 80s horror drama complete with poor production values, awful dialogue, and hilarious violence. The series is set in a hospital in Romford, which is situated over the gates of hell. So this is Richard Ayoade, I pronounced his name wrong, Moss from the IT Crowd, Matt Berry, and Matthew Holness.
Huh.
And what you have is this horror writer who is terrible, and that's played by Matthew Holness. And he has wrote, directed, and starred in this series called Darkplace, and it takes place at this hospital where he is a physician. Matt Berry is a physician. Richard Ayoade is like the chief of staff or something like that. And weird things happen. Like it said, it's situated over the gates of hell. And the opening titles are kind of like bad MacGyver from back in the early 80s.
Yeah.
This whole thing is absolutely bonkers. Now, you have to watch this with somebody that has this same twisted sense of humor, that they laugh at very, very stupid things. Because I watched it once with my wife, who just was having none of it. She was like, this is painful. This is boring. And there's like 24-minute episodes too. There's only 6 of them. So it's a quick binge, really. But it honestly, that first episode took a lot to get through. It felt much longer than the 24 minutes. I then watched it though with my sons. And because we share the same stupid sense of humor, we're rolling on the floor laughing because you just feed off of that energy from each other. I think in episode 2, there's just some weird things going on, and things are like floating. You can absolutely see all the strings that are happening. I mean, It's made specifically for this. And I love the layering that goes involved, because you have Matthew Holness playing a writer who is then playing a doctor in the series, and then it will break into this, and you will have like these interviews where they're addressing the audience about what's going on in the show, or what was going on at the time, or what was in their mindset. And this is, it's so gold. I mean, if you get the chance,
it's British.
It is British. It is brilliant. It's from 2004. But made to look like it's from like 2000, or not 2000, like 1983.
Okay.
There is the continuity is not there. Every rule of filmmaking is almost broken in this. Like, you will have some voiceovers, you will have some just stares. Like this. I mean, just none of it makes sense, and yet it all makes sense together. Like, it just so when you watch this, it's like, ooh, what the crap am I watching? And I can't turn away. And yeah, so if you have some buddies that enjoy ridiculousness, that just, that can laugh at the absurd, then this is one to watch together, because you might pee yourself a little bit. Can
you give me an example of comparison? Like IT Crowd meets...
Gosh,
Monty Python.
See, the production values of those are like so much higher. Okay, so the randomness that comes about in IT Crowd, it comes about in this, some of it. Right. You have, I mean, Matt Berry is just Matt Berry, but he's like a toned down Renham. Richard Ayoade is like a he's a more socially adept Moss.
Okay.
Even though he's very stoic, but that's when he's acting in the show. When he's doing an interview, he's different. So it's it's really.
It sounds great. I'm gonna find it.
Yeah, you got to watch it.
I loved it.
It's Marenghi's Darkplace, and so if you have Amazon Prime, hopefully, at least in the US, I would hope that it's also available in Britain, and in the UK, and worldwide, really, because everybody needs the opportunity to experience.
Everybody needs to see it.
That's fantastic.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, that was mine. Yes, so we can we can move on to whatever we want to discuss.
Let's talk about The Matrix.
The Matrix.
The Matrix has you, Neo. Follow the white rabbit. Just every line popping into my head while watching that trailer. The first thing I want to talk about, obviously, if you're watching this and you haven't seen the trailer, go watch the trailer. Then you can watch this because it's very cool. Agent Smith. Did everybody see Agent Smith?
Like the Agent Smith?
Like
Hugo Weaving Agent
Smith? Like Hugo Weaving. So there's this thing going around the net that you might see him in the transformation in the mirror when Keanu Reeves looks a bit old, but there's a reflection and there's a second there that looks exactly like Agent Smith.
Really?
Okay.
And so people are kind of going, so who's the resurrection for? Is it Neo? Is it Trinity? Is it Agent Smith?
Wow. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, so that blew my mind. Okay. I was like, oh. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting that they have done away with the green tint. At least in the trailer that we see, that it is it still has some of the key characteristics of what we've known from the Matrix, and yet it still feels modern as well. That they've brought it into this current era. And so I liked the new coloring for that. Obviously, we've seen just one little trailer, so who knows where it's going to go and how things are going to change or what will morph as we watch. But that was one of the things that stood out to me, was just how it's it has a different tone, I think, to it overall.
I thought the implementation of music into this trailer. I mean, you picked the perfect song. It's and I think I was watching Jeremy John's video. He was talking about music that amps up more and more until you get to that ending and everything's just hitting the fan. But also, they're matching up the sound design, the gunshots with the song that they're using in the trailer. I love that.
Powerful.
That's such an artistic flair. Yeah, it really is, and it got me amped up. Like, I was looking forward to this, but you guys know, whenever we get a movie or a franchise that's coming back, and it's either hit or miss. It's going to hit hard or it's going to be a huge miss. So I'm like, okay, it's The Matrix. Is it Keanu? What's he doing? But and I know he looks like John Wick in this trailer, but I just thought it was so cool seeing all of this, Matrix, these Matrix isms modernized in 2021, where we have the technology, and that could also be a detriment because we see it countless times in countless movies, things that are doing things that the Matrix did 20 years ago, right? But now we're getting this right now, as my dog is barking in the background, apologies. We're getting this, if you can't hear it, but we're getting this in 2021, bringing back these characters that people know, and adding in some visuals that are just spectacular. This may be, I think I'm ready to claim this may be my favorite trailer of the year, even though it's not my most anticipated movie. But again, when you can match up all of those things and make it so artistic, and by the end, when the graphic comes up, and he says, we're going back to the Matrix, I'm jumping up and down going, let's go back to the Matrix, baby. Like, I'm freaking out over here. So I was ecstatic. I think I've watched it 10 times since it came. I love this trailer. I thought it was awesome.
Amazing. Neil Patrick Harris. I didn't actually know he was in it until I saw him in the chair. I don't know how I feel about him being the bad guy. It looks like he's the bad guy. I don't know. I get the feeling. It comes across as that. I don't know. Like Neo's been manipulated to keep taking the pills, right? The wrong pills to keep him where ignorance is bliss, as Cypher would say, or Silo. What was his name in the Matrix? Yeah. Put me back in the Matrix. I want my steak and my wine. I'm a little bit worried, I do have to say, because there was a lot in the trailer that reminded me of the first Matrix. And it seems a lot like they've gone, okay, we've got this formula worked in the first one. And obviously people have very mixed feelings on the second and third one. But we know that the first one is like held in such high regard, 5-star film, lived the test of time, even though it has some technology that's outdated now. For some reason, it just works, man. And so now we've got the cat, the Morpheus, the dojo scene, like ticking all those boxes. I was like, I'm excited to see those, but there's a new story in there, right? Right?
Hope so.
I'll say this, I've heard things about this movie, some insiders, and I won't spoil everything, but I've heard this movie is very meta, like to the point to where it is not what we expect going in. Extremely meta. And if these guys are right, again, I don't know, and they didn't reveal any plot details, but a lot of people are saying this is not what the trailer shows it to be. And that could be a bad thing as well, which has me a little bit worried. But they're saying it could be too meta, which kind of takes us out of the experience. But at the same time, I find that kind of intriguing because I agree with you, Ruben. This is a little bit of, and I love The Force Awakens.
Yeah, exactly my thoughts.
But not every franchise can execute a Force Awakens, if that makes sense. So I hope it refrains from being the same film room, but I agree. That is a concern for me, for sure.
But I'm definitely going to follow the White Rabbit, for sure.
I have to.
You know, trivia here, which reveals my age, but The Matrix, the original, was the first movie my wife and I saw after, like the first time we went out after the birth of our first son. So our oldest son had been born. We hadn't, like, don't go out. You don't have any, no time or anything. So this was the first time we left him alone with anybody to go out for just a bit of time. And we choose to see The Matrix and come back. I mean, hair blown back, like, whoa, what the crap did we just see? And then fast forward a bunch of years to where our house is fairly conservative. I mean, we would watch movies before we showed them to the kids, or we'd seen them just to make sure that it was age appropriate. We had totally forgotten about the level of language that was in the first movie. And so we're watching it, and our oldest was, I don't know, he might have been 12, maybe 10, something like that. I mean, he was old enough, however old he was old enough to handle like the violence, but we just didn't want him experiencing, or at least repeating as much language. Well, our youngest son was there too, because we were just and my wife and I halfway through are like, what the I don't remember all of
it's funny how you don't even hear some language when you're watching it because it's not a thing, but then when you watch it with a younger demographic, you're suddenly not appropriate.
Yeah. Well, now both kids are adults, and they it sometimes some of them will come back and be like, oh, I watched this. You what? I haven't even seen that. Ooh, okay. But
well, and it seems like we're so used to that, right? I have a difficult time recommending movies to friends and family because like my parents are very like, we're going to watch this, but we don't want a lot of strong language. And a lot of my friends, a lot of them are kind of the same way. So it's like I have to pick and choose. But every time they ask me, they're like, is there a lot of cursing, this and that? Unless it's a hard R, it's always hard for me to remember because I'm so used to it. And that's, I guess that's a bad thing, right? But that's just, we watch so many movies, it's hard to remember how much cursing and all of this stuff is. That's why, Chris, I love in your reviews, you're always very upfront. Strong language. I love that. Strong language, this and that, because it's something that a lot of people are looking out for. And I think that's definitely important for I need to do more of that in my reviews. I do. I need to say, listen, because again, they'll watch my review and they'll be like, but does it have a lot of cursing? And I'm like, I don't remember. I know I just watched it last week, but I don't remember. So yeah, I need to be more on top of that.
You can't. I mean, come on. The amount of stuff that we watch and the rate at which we watch it. I mean, it true. When if somebody asks me something, a week later or even a couple days later, I'm like, you should watch my review. Kid, I don't remember what I felt about it. If it didn't haunt me, if it didn't stick with me, whatever that was, then I may have enjoyed it. I may have been really great, but some nuances within there, I don't know.
Yes.
My parents are the worst critics because they both run a church. So my dad's a pastor. My mum helps run that, and so they'll watch some of my reviews and they'll be like, "Oh, cool, we can check that out." And then get a text or, "You like that?" But it's like, oh, the disappointment from the parents. No.
That's the worst.
It's like trying to watch Game of Thrones with your family, right? It's just, there's some scenes in there. You just.
Oh, my dad one time said, should I watch Game of Thrones? And I said, He's like, because I've heard a lot of great things about it. I said, well, if you can skip season 1, season 2, season 3, and most of the episodes, and just get the gist from about 10 episodes, then yes, I would recommend it. But otherwise, I don't know if you're going to enjoy this. It's very, very difficult.
Wow.
Oh, funny.
On that note, I don't know where to go from there.
How about? Well, does anybody have any other things that were best on the list?
No,
anything like that?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah. Are there any things that coming up this next week, maybe that are on your radar that you're hoping might be good, or that you're looking forward to at least?
Busy watching through. What's it called? Mass something? Mike Flanagan.
Oh,
Midnight Mass. Yes. We're watching that too.
Can't say anything because of spoilers, but so far, dang. That's my word for it.
Yep.
Dang.
Dang. I agree with that. I agree with dang.
So yeah, that's very good. On Apple, as we spoke about it, I think I've mentioned it a couple of times. So far, I'm blown away. Isaac Asimov's sci-fi extravaganza series. What was it called? Foundation. Thank you. Yeah. I was wondering whether it was going to be excellent. It might be the new Game of Thrones. It's that epic in scale. And it doesn't hold any punches for the social commentary that it's talking about. But it reminds me a lot of Dune as well. It has that sort of futuristic feel. The costumes, the set designs, everything. It feels hard to watch, not because it's not good. It's because there's so much to absorb. So it feels like, because every episode is like an hour, you're watching a feature. And I can't imagine the undertaking of a director trying to... This is why you get so many directors for a TV series sometimes, because it's like directing a feature for each episode. But every episode just feels grand in scale, but keeps it very much focused on small characters, which is very clever, because you can have your big world, but you can keep it entertaining and people along for the ride, because you're going with just a few characters, which I think is very clever. It will take you a while to catch up. Like, this is the new law, this is the world. You know, like every time we get a new sci-fi world, you kind of have to figure out what's going on in this world, much like The Expanse or something like that. What does this mean? What does this language mean? What does this phrase mean? It's all of that, but it's so well done. Very much looking forward to talking about that. I would definitely put that on your list.
Cool. Nice. Very cool. That's awesome. Isn't Clint Eastwood's new movie Cry Macho coming out this weekend as well?
Yes.
Which is crazy, because I feel like there's been marketing for it, a lot of trailers on television, but not a lot of word of mouth about it so far. Yeah. So I'm very I'm worried, but at the same time, I love Eastwood, so I think this one could be interesting. Especially, I mean, look at his age. What is he, 90-something years old, and still acting
amazing.
And directing? It's incredible. It's incredible. So I'm looking forward to that movie on HBO
When he gets
Max
it right,
Friday,
it's spectacular, isn't it?
Yes, agreed. Yeah, there have been what was it, 15-17 to Paris? That was a miss or whatever it was. But there have been a couple. Even in his 80s, that have just rocked my world. So I'm excited for this one. I think it could be good.
Outstanding. Is it a Western? Is it? I haven't seen anything about it, and they're not even doing screenings in my area, so I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe it's like it looks like he's having to protect some kids. Some people are after some kids, and it's this one last ride kind of, there's a lot of monologues facing the camera in the trailer. But I mean, Eastwood, there's one shot of him going for a punch. So
Wow.
A little worried there. Just be careful, Clint. All right, but I think there could be some action in this. But it looks a bit of like a modern Western, Chris. So I think that's kind of the vibe that I get from the trailers.
Okay. I am looking forward to Squid Game, which is coming out on Netflix. It's a Korean bonkers show.
Yeah.
It reminds me a tiny bit of maybe Alice in Borderland, where you have this, the concept is this large group of characters who are participating in this game. And it is the ultimate game of survival. But the prize is something like in the billions of dollars. So there's high stakes, but it also, you could die. So I'm hopeful that this is going to be an exciting type of thing, and that it will be, just something that puts us on the edge of our seat, and doesn't get too off in the cheesiness or anything like that. But I don't know. We'll see. It comes out, I believe, this coming weekend. So looking forward to that. Well, so I think, I think we've reached the end here, at least for the YouTube portion. If you want some bonus audio, the best thing we watched this week is a weekly podcast as well that you can listen to on Spotify and a bunch of other podcasting platforms. We release episodes every Sunday, and this time, like last week, we'll have some bonus audio for you there. Everybody, we'll go through one more time where can we find each of you? So, Ruben, where can everybody find you at?
London, UK. No, I'm joking. That's a dad joke, and it's bad. I'm sorry.
Kills every time.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It was amazing.
Yeah. No, just the Ruby Tuesday on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I've got a TikTok that's dedicated to really stupid videos. So if you want to see me using a peg with the Jurassic Park soundtrack, then that's your place, and some like stupid gaming videos, because I need an outlet to do stupid things. So yeah, pretty much just search the Ruby Tuesday in its variation forms, and we're on there.
Outstanding. Austin, where can everybody find you?
I need an outlet too to do stupid things. I just annoy my wife, and she's just sick of it at this point. No, I'm just kidding. You guys can find me youtube.com, Austin Burke, @Burkeinator on Twitter and Instagram, and constantly watching Movies and Munchies and the Ruby Tuesday. I tell you guys, you are my go-tos for streaming. You really are, and it's crazy how much content there is to cover. But you two do an outstanding job. So thanks for having me, man. This was so much fun. It was.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Chris with Movies and Munchies. You can find me on YouTube, Movies and Munchies. I do have to make sure I enunciate because sometimes it comes across as Monkeys, which is a whole different channel. That's my secondary channel there. No, don't go looking for that one. I am very sporadically active on Twitter at Movies Munchies. You can kind of find me on Facebook too, but really it's just to repost a lot of stuff that you already see on YouTube. So the best place to find me is YouTube there. So thanks so much as always. If there's things that you want us to cover, if you think that there is something best that you've seen that maybe we don't know about yet, please put it in the comments below. We would love to see it. I mean, all of us have ongoing lists of things to check out. Now, we may not always be able to review them, but it is worthwhile to check out. And so we value your input, your recommendations, and as always, just the feedback that we get from you, because it's a lot of fun to interact with everybody down in the comments. So thanks so much again for tuning in. And if you want the bonus audio, head over to Spotify and check out that podcast.